Today I actually did another video already that I haven't uploaded yet about Ricky Starks. You know what I mean? Well, it's not really about Ricky Starks so much more than it is about like the fact that everyone in wrestling is a fucking loser. And I think I will actually release that video either tomorrow or maybe even super late tonight. Probably tomorrow at this point. But today I wanted to do a video which was inspired by that video because I was thinking about how much everyone today is a fucking loser, not just in wrestling, but in the real world, really. Like, everyone in entertainment is just a fucking cuck, you know? So I thought to myself, who is the least loserish person I could think of in wrestling? Who is the least cuckish? And I could come up with only one name. And a lot of people have been requesting this video. And here we are, Cuckstis. 25 reasons, 25 big ones, why Jeff Hardy is fucking awesome. 25 reasons. Reason number one, let's get started. He epitomizes the 90s, right? In the 90s, that's how people were, and that's how people wanted to be. Obviously, nobody was like Jeff Hardy, but that's what everyone thought was the coolest kind of thing to be, right? That kind of guy. Like mysterious, cool, daredevilish, charismatic, and awesome in every way. He is the 90s if the 90s were a person. Also, remember back in the 90s, those of you that were around, where everything that would end with an S, we just spelled it with a Z. So we had like the Hardy Boys with a Z and the Dudley Boys with a Z. That was great. Reason number two, he is crazy cool. Simple as that. Jeff Hardy is one of the coolest people of all time. Enough said, cuts this. Reason number three, another me is what they'll never see. That's a great theme song. One of my personal favorites of all time. Reason number four, the TNA Willow promos. Remember the Willow promos where Jeff Hardy was dressed as other character, Willow? It wasn't obvious that this motherfucker was Jeff Hardy until he started wrestling and the whole gimmick went to shit because it was so obviously Jeff Hardy that, like, you were asking yourself, like, why would TNA do this? Why would they take one of the only guys that they have at that point that has any kind of credibility and that is even close to being mainstream, relevant at that time, and put him in a mask and pretend he's somebody else? But the promos, the vignettes, were fucking awesome. I highly recommend you check them out. They always ended with him, like, looking out this window, and it's just the creepiest thing ever. It was fucking great. Reason number five, kind of going along with that theme. The Antichrist, Jeff Hardy, was fucking awesome. When he turned heel and joined Hulk Hogan with Immortal, that was fucking amazing. Jeff Hardy understood what he needed to do. He could no longer be the Jeff Hardy that everyone loved. So he completely changed everything. He changed his finisher. His finisher was the twist of hate now, not the swanton. He changed his hair. He changed the way he dresses. He changed his mannerisms. He changed literally everything. It was like a different guy. And it felt new and it felt raw. And quite frankly, it was cut short due to Hardy's own fault, if we're being honest. But nevertheless, that shit was awesome. Reason number six, he has one of the most iconic finishers of all time. I would even go as far as to say that he has the most iconic finisher of all time. I personally rate the Swanton as being one of the best, if not the best finisher ever, right? It's very distinctive of him. Now, of course, we have fat fucks like Kevin Owens and Penta doing it. Fat, short guys. Jeff Hardy was tall and lean. Now we got these fat nobodies doing it and ruining the move. We have someone like Jacob Fatu doing it, fucking ruining the move. But when Jeff Hardy did it, and quite frankly, even now when he does it, it just looks 100 times better. Jeff Hardy just does it better than everyone, except for maybe Sean O'Hare. He had a pretty good one too. The Swanton Bomb. But the Swanton Bomb is one of the best moves of all time. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people, myself included, really got into wrestling when they saw people like Jeff Hardy doing cool shit like that. Specifically, I really liked Jeff Hardy when I was a kid. He was probably my favorite wrestler, along with The Rock. Anyways, reason number seven. He is still wrestling today, which speaks volumes to how good of a wrestler he is and how long his career has been. Jeff Hardy started when he was like 19 or so, which is, of course, very, very young. If you look at people that have started 19, you got only a handful of motherfuckers like that. You got Cucky Rhodes, you got Orton started in his very early 20s, and you got Javon Evans. And if you really want to be honest about it, like from the beginning, Jeff Hardy turned so many more heads than Javon Evans or Cody Rhodes ever would. You know what I mean? Like, you can just look, you can put like Jeff Hardy in his prime against Cucky and against Javon Evans, or Jeff Hardy at 19 against these guys at 19, and you ask literally every person in the world, which one of these guys is the coolest? Every single person in the world is gonna say Jeff Hardy just by looking at them. You'd be like, oh, okay, these two jobbers. Like, remember Cody at 19? It's just a guy with black tights and black hair with like a DDT finisher. You know what I mean? John Evans, he's got cool moves and everything, but he's just a regular guy. Jeff Hardy just stands out. And again, this is not a slight towards Cucky and Javon Evans, who I have slighted many times in the past, but this is more of a testament to how great Jeff Hardy is, and honestly, how long he's been around, right? Reason number 8. The Hardys are full-time and always have been massive innovators, right? First of all, Matt Hardy reinvented their entire careers with the whole broken Matt Hardy thing, which he had no business succeeding in, given that he was doing it in his 40s and given that like nobody gave a fuck about the Hardys at that point. Despite the fact that Matt Hardy was the inferior of the two, he carried them with that and Jeff Hardy played his part. But the Hardy Boys are innovators in many different things. First of all, they've invented straight up moves. Like the Twist of Fate is a Matt Hardy creation, right? The Swanton Bomb, I know Jeff Hardy didn't invent it, but he's the one who made it big, all right? Then they have moves that they've legit like invented, like the poetry in motion. You know what I mean? That's their move. I don't care if Takahashi Yokoshida and some other 5'1" Japanese jobber who was fat did it first. I don't care. It doesn't count unless it's in the E cuts. Then they keep doing it. They have that Twist of Fate neck breaker thing, the plot twist. They keep doing this shit. Every once in a while, the Hardys will just make new shit up. They really are innovators, and they really are good at what they do. It's as simple as that. Reason number 9, the tope suicida that Jeff Hardy used to do. Granted, nowadays, fat jobbers like Penta do it all the time, but it doesn't quite have the same allure as when Hardy did it. Number 1, it's not nearly as graceful, Jeff Hardy is not going to do like 17 flips like Mustafa Ali, but the Swanton Bomb is going to look awesome literally every single time. Even when he crouton bombs it, it still looks awesome. It just hurts the other guy, right? But Mustafa Ali or like Nathan Frazier, they'll do like a 450 or a Phoenix Splash or something, and it'll look like shit most of the time. He'll never look good. Same thing with Seth Rollins. Like, he'll overshoot the Phoenix Splash. Like, all these people don't know how to do the moves that they're trying to do. Jeff Hardy, even though he had similar moves, they always look good. And quite frankly, back then, there weren't that many motherfuckers doing these moves. So when he did it, it felt special. Also, there's something to be said about doing a tope suicida and landing on The Undertaker, player, and doing a tope suicida and landing on like Ludwig Kaiser or Gunther. One is awesome because you just took out The Undertaker and it makes sense. The other one is stupid because you took out a jobber, you put your life on the line. I'll put this very simply so even the kids in the back can understand. If Jeff Hardy is out there doing Jeff Hardy shit, and let's say he's wrestling someone like Kane or The Undertaker or even Rock and Stone Cold, who are much bigger and stronger than he is, right? It makes sense that he would go and do like a move like that because the implications are Jeff Hardy has no chance in hell to take out Kane. But maybe if he tope suicidas on top of Kane, he might have a small chance, right? But Pentagon has a chance to beat Ludwig Kaiser. I mean, obviously Ludwig would beat his ass, but he's got a chance. Like, Ludwig's like a regular guy, you know what I mean? He's just a little tall, but he's lanky. So nobody should be putting their life on the line to do a tope suicida on Ludwig Kaiser. Like, Montez Ford does tope suicidas all the time. But the problem is it doesn't make any sense in the context of the match because Montez is like 6'2", and he's doing it on like Alex Shelley, who's like 5'7". How about just get out of the ring and punch him in the face? You don't need to do a tope suicida on Alex Shelley. It doesn't make any sense at all, or on Kofi Kingston. It doesn't make any sense. So Jeff Hardy made that shit cool, made that shit famous. Reason number 10. He was totally ahead of his time. Jeff Hardy is legit a pioneer in wrestling culture. Number 1, that big-ass tree tattoo that he's got with the roots and everything. Back in the 90s, tattoos were still very much taboo. Coloring your hair was very much taboo. Having earrings as a guy was pretty taboo. Not super, but it was pretty taboo. Like, regular people didn't have earrings. You know what I mean? Nowadays, you go to the fucking... For all of you that were around the 90s, remember back in the day when neck tattoos were like a sign of a scary individual? Like, you saw a dude with a neck tattoo and you're like, fuck, this guy could kill me at any second. Now, you go to the fucking, the independent coffee shop, you order a mochaccino, and the guy over there, he's got like one of those bull things, those nose piercings. They look like bulls, and they got a neck tattoo, and he's like, "Hi, how may I help you?" And you're like, "What the fuck? Like, you don't deserve. You haven't earned the neck tattoo. You know what I mean? Like, you're a little pussy. Just make my coffee. You know what I mean?" So things have changed, and Jeff Hardy was a pioneer in that. Not in the in what I just said, but in the context of making these things popular. He was. People don't understand, but he was a big deal in that movement. Now, he wasn't like as big as like Axl Rose, but you understand what I'm getting at. Cuxties. Reason number 11. Literally my personal favorite reason, not only on this video, but in every 25 reasons video I've made thus far. Reason 11, here we go. Don't you see the writings on the wall? See the writings on the wall. You're in a way over your head. The things that you said. One of the greatest theme songs of all time. In my opinion, probably like easily top 5 theme songs of all time. Primarily because they took the riff from the original Hardy's theme song and they made it like more personable, right? They added lyrics to make it cooler. Those are always my favorite theme songs. The ones where they take elements from the person's old theme song and then they add something to it. Like another good one is the Kane theme song. You know, da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, the world around is down. I know for sure. You know that one? Like, it's Kane's theme song, but they made a song around it, It's fucking badass. Reason number 12. CM Punk doesn't like Jeff Hardy, which in my opinion proves he's a cool guy, all right? Reason number 13. Despite endless substance abuse issues, which I hope he overcomes one day, I hope he has already overcome them, he is still there in wrestling, and it has pretty much not stifled his career the way it should have. Like, if this happened to, like, literally anybody else, like, except for maybe Stone Cold or The Rock, if someone had gotten the amount of DUIs and has had the amount of problems that Jeff Hardy has had, right? Like, imagine if this happened to, like, Randy Orton. He would not be in wrestling today. If this happened to, like, Trick Williams or Carmelo Hayes or Nathan Frazier or Ludwig Kaiser or, anybody else, basically, literally anybody else, they wouldn't be cool enough to overcome this. Simple as that. Jeff Hardy, nothing sticks to this motherfucker because he's so cool and he's such a massive draw that despite the fact that he's this massive problem for anyone that hires him, he still is Jeff Hardy, So he's done it, man. He's done it, and I have respect for him. I hope that he comes down the other side, but it is what it is. Reason number 14, another personal favorite. Jeff Hardy has zero cringe, right? He's never cringy. Everyone has moments of cringe and awkwardness, right? Except for Jeff Hardy, right? He's just too cool for cringe, right? And I will use a great example. I will compare him to his brother, Matt Hardy, who is a cool guy, no doubt, but he has a lot of moments of cringe. Like I've said a few videos ago, remember the Angelic Diablo? That whole shit was cringe. But one thing that I will remember for the rest of my life, there was a pay-per-view, I believe it was a Backlash, but I could be wrong. One of the matches was a 3-on-3 tag team match, a 6-man tag match. On one side of the aisle, it was good old the Hardy Boys and Lita, right? It was an elimination match. On the other side, it was the Radicals, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and for this match, their leader, Dean Malenko. Because the rivalry was Dean Malenko and Lita, right? Dean Malenko wanted to sleep with Lita because he was doing a ladies' man gimmick, but it was unlike the one Ricky Saints did, which I mentioned in the other video. Like, Dean Malenko's gimmick was like ironic, you know what I mean? Like the whole point was like, obviously Dean Malenko's not a ladies' man. Look at him, he's like 5'1" and bald at like 25, So, but that was why it was funny. And in the match, right? Long story short, Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero get eliminated and eliminate the Hardys, right? Well, one Hardy is left, and Dean Malenko like rolls him up. So now the last two people in the match are Dean and Lita. Lita does some offense, and then Dean Malenko pretty much counters like the Hurricane Rana. He like power bombs her with from the Hurricane Rana and puts the clover leaf on her, and she taps out, and he won't let go. Then the Hardys come back, and Lita is like saying, "I know I can beat him. I know I can beat him." As Jerry the King Lawler is laughing his ass off on commentary, and Matt Hardy, like anyone that's watched this match knows what I'm gonna say right now. And mid promo, as she's trying to talk, Matt Hardy's trying to pull her face and kiss her. It was the weirdest thing ever because in kayfabe they weren't a couple. Right? They became a couple later, in kayfabe and in real life, but in kayfabe, they were never presented as a couple. So it's just like the weird friend trying to kiss her was so cringe. I really hope that I can find this clip and show it to you guys one day because it was so cringe. Like Jeff Hardy would never do that. He's just above that shit because he has no cringe in him. Reason 15, he is the only guy in WWE history, aside from perhaps Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon does deserve his flowers, but he wasn't the consistent performer that Jeff Hardy was. And he's the only guy, aside from Shane maybe, to put his body on the line for the fans. I'm sick and tired of this thing, right? A lot of times people say like they put their bodies and lives on the line for our entertainment. Some of them do, motherfuck. You know what I mean? Let's not get it twisted. Let's not get it twisted, motherfuckers. Gunther does not put his body on the line. Gunther has 3 low-impact moves and the worst splash in history. Gunther's not taking any risks for my entertainment. As a matter of fact, he's not entertaining me at all. Some people do that shit, and some people don't. Again, let's not get it twisted. You know, The Rock, Stone Cold, these guys never put their bodies on the line. Yeah, they got injured once in a while, but they did not have this high-risk style, right? Kane, Big Show, they didn't. You know? Like, the people that did are literally Vince, Shane, and out of all the wrestlers, I think the only one that's done this consistently is Jeff Hardy, motherfuckers. Because Jeff Hardy did all this flippy shit, right? Like AJ Styles and like a lot of the cruiserweights do crazy shit. But AJ Styles, like, you know, he would do cool things due to his arguably unparalleled athleticism. But Jeff Hardy would fucking dive off of like the fucking scaffolding through 5 tables and like nearly die for like 5 people to give a shit about it, you know? Jeff Hardy, in my opinion, like every time you hear that, like, oh, these people are putting their lives on the line for our entertainment, I always think of Jeff Hardy and I always think of it as a form of stolen valor because people will just legit say it about like, you know, like Drew Gulak, you know, like, oh, he puts his life on the line for us. No, he doesn't. He does like fucking boring ass submission wrestling, you know? No, he doesn't. Seth Rollins doesn't put his life on the line for us. He gets injured diving, just falling to the ground because he's a pussy, but he's not putting his life on the line. Jeff Hardy, on the other hand, he's had like fewer injuries than Seth Rollins, and he's taking dives off of like things that you're not supposed to even climb. You know? Jeff Hardy fucking rules, man. And quite frankly, I don't like how this attribute has been like democratized to the rest of the wrestlers. Like you think everybody does this. They're like, oh, Baron Corbin putting his, like Roman Reigns puts his life on the line for us. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He takes like 3 moves a year. You know what I'm saying? He takes 3 moves a year. He does a Superman punch and a spear twice. That's it. He has no risk in his job. Jey Uso has no risk in his job. Jimmy Uso has no risk on his job. The one time they asked Jimmy Uso to do like a shitty looking splash, one of the worst splashes of all time, comparable to a Gunther splash from the top of the cage at War Games, he gets injured for like 6 months. It's like these guys have absolutely nothing to offer this company, right? Like if it was up to Jimmy Uso, if it was up to that bitch to keep this company going, the company would be out of business in like 2 weeks, you know? If it were up to Jeff Hardy, it'd be going on forever. You know what I'm saying? Like Jeff Hardy's probably going to outlast these guys as a wrestler. Anyways, another good reason 16, the Hardy Boys original theme song, the that was like a 90s anthem, motherfuckers. That shit was in commercials. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, reason number 17, he always stood out. I alluded to this, but he stood out in every capacity. Like if you were in a massive Royal Rumble type scenario and you had him there like Farouk, Bradshaw, Jeff Hardy, Test, The Rock, Kane, X-Pac, let's just throw some names out there, Rikishi. The people that would stand out the most in this example that I gave, I mean, probably Rikishi, for being honest, just because his ass would take up about like 30% of the screen. But in terms of like characters, you'd be most interested in Jeff Hardy. Like that's the way that I'm gonna like clarify his charisma. If you have 10 guys in the ring and one of them is Jeff Hardy and you show whatever the fuck's happening to 100 people and you ask them, which one are you a fan of now? I think the answer for most people would be Jeff Hardy. Like, even if it was Jeff Hardy and Stone Cold in a match, nobody would say, like, I'm a fan of Stone Cold over Jeff Hardy, right? Because Jeff Hardy just looks cooler and he does cooler shit. He stands out. Reason number 18, the whisper in the wind. A personal favorite move of mine, and honestly something that was way ahead of its time. And honestly something he does better than everybody. Like Jimmy Uso does it looks like shit. Here's another one, Cooks. Reason number 19. He was, and in many ways still is, massively over, right? He is massively, massively over. Back in the day, almost nobody would get the pop that Jeff Hardy would get. When Jeff Hardy would climb the top turnbuckle and take off his blouse, he did dress like a weirdo sometimes, take off his little see-through blouse, right, to signify that he's gonna do like the fucking swanton. All the men would get excited for the swanton, and all the women would get excited for Jeff Hardy taking off his shirt. Even though Jeff Hardy had this mediocre physique, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter. He's still fucking Jeff Hardy. You know? It's like the women, That should be another reason. In fact, it is here somewhere. But actually, it's the next reason. It looks like reason number 20. The women love Jeff Hardy. I can't believe I forgot that I put that in there. It's because I put 2 reasons for 20, and I was gonna pick the other one, but then I picked this one. The other one was like he's cool for being a 50-year-old, but the women's situation is much better. The women would go crazy for Jeff Hardy, and that's something that's missing nowadays. Like who? I don't know. I have some female fans, but who do the women like? You know what I mean? Maybe they like Cookie Rhodes because he's like this, this Ken doll archetype. But aside from him, who is there for women to like? Like Roman Reigns is on his way out. Who in NXT are women gonna like? Seriously, you know what I mean? Who are women gonna get excited for from NXT? Literally not one person. Not one person. They all look like weirdos. Nobody is handsome anymore, and Jeff Hardy was that dude. You know what I mean? All the women love Jeff Hardy. It wasn't even close. He was as close as they got to Shawn Michaels in terms of how much women loved him. And since then, it's been downhill. You've had once in a while, you've had like The Rock, the women loved The Rock, the women loved Randy Orton, right? But beyond that, it's like, after that, it's like nobody else, you know what I mean? Everybody else just sucks. But Jeff Hardy didn't, he was awesome. Reason 21, his return with Matt Hardy at WrestleMania, this was one of the best things the New Day ever did. They came out in wrestling gear, right? And they were going to say that the ladder match is now a fatal 4-way. And the implication was that it's the New Day. And even though people like the New Day, nobody wants to see them wrestle. Like a few years later, Kofi would become champion, but until that point, nobody gave a fuck, right? And instead, the Hardy Boys came out, and the New Day started doing like the Hardy Boy dance, which was awesome. The crowd went fucking nuts. Reason number 22, his match against The Undertaker, player. The match was so good that it pretty much spawned a wrestling trope, right? The Undertaker shook Jeff Hardy's hand. He was like a massive heel at the time, and he gave Jeff Hardy respect. This then became a thing not only that The Undertaker did, but a thing that other people started doing. It was only cool when you gave it to Jeff Hardy because Jeff Hardy was a tag team guy who pushed Taker to the limit, right? It would be like the equivalent of having like a real WWE star, like not Cookie Rhodes, but imagine if like today, imagine if Roman Reigns, well, that's the closest we'll get. Imagine if Roman Reigns was the champion and fucking Kid Wilson pushed him to the brink, right? And except for it being Kid Wilson, it was Kid Wilson who people actually give a fuck about, That's how big that moment was for Jeff Hardy, and quite honestly for The Undertaker too. I'd put it as a top 10 Undertaker moment. Anyways, what else we got here? Reason number 23. Jeff Hardy, this is going to be a controversial one, but I'm going to stand by it forever. Reason 23. Jeff Hardy largely invented the tag team tables match, the tag team ladder match, and the TLC match. Let's be honest, right? Now, the haters' favorite tag team of all time, although it's coming up close. Now it might be the Hardys. It's getting close because the Hardys still have a few good years in them. But my favorite tag team of all time is the Dudley Boys, right? My favorite wrestler of all time is Christian Cage. Now, with all that being said, I am not stupid, and I recognize that the entire premise of TLC is basically, let's give Jeff Hardy shit to do, right? Fundamentally, I know other people contributed, no doubt. Like, the Dudleys did a lot of the work, Edge and Christian did a lot of the work, Matt Hardy did a lot of the work. But quite frankly, if you were there during that time, when it was time for the TLC match, as the wrestlers would come out, everyone would say basically the same thing. I wonder what cool shit Jeff Hardy's gonna do during this match. The entire point of experimenting with these matches was the idea that Jeff Hardy's willing to do crazy shit. Because if it was the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, instead, if those were the two tag teams, then nobody would give a fuck about these matches. Likewise, if it was the Hardys and Edge and Christian, people would care just as much. If it was the Hardys and the Dudleys, people would care just as much. The Hardy Boys were the real draw of those matches. And if we're being honest, I love me some Matt Hardy, but it was Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy was the reason why we even have these matches. Cuts this. Reason number 24. Another personal favorite, motherfucks. When Jeff Hardy would wear face paint, it made sense. He would wear face paint, and he would come out to the ring acting differently than he would when he didn't wear face paint, right? He would be like in this zone, in this trance, right? It was this like shamanistic experience, right? I liked that. It made sense. You're like, for whatever reason he's wearing the face paint, he's playing into it, right? It's not just like wearing a different, shirt, right? He's taking care of his character. He's presenting you with something. Doesn't have to be that deep, but he's taking care of it. One of the things that has happened nowadays is that the presentation of wrestlers has become basically zero. Like the way that Joe Hendry's presented, it's the same way that Sami Zayn is presented. There's nothing unique about them. Look at all the Japanese women wrestlers. They all look exactly the same. They all wear these yellowy tassels, right? And like bejeweled like bullshit. You know what I mean? They have the same moves. Nobody gives a fuck about any of them. They have no personalities or characters, right? And, you know, quite frankly, you can throw in Sasha Banks and like fucking Lyra Valkyria in that category too. The people, and like Roxanne Perez, the people that wear bedazzled jewelry like gear and then come out, you know, like they don't stand out at all. So that's the idea. Jeff Hardy did that shit, right? He stood out big time with the face paint. And in my opinion, if I'm being 100% honest, I think Jeff Hardy is like the best face paint guy ever. Like you might make an argument for the Ultimate Warrior, right? Just because like he would go into character. But for example, other face paint jobbers like fucking Umaga, like fucking Sting, these guys just, it didn't make any sense, right? I mean, for Umaga, I guess a little bit, but like I think for Umaga, it was presented as he's just a Samoan retard. So like with or without the face paint, and it makes no difference. But like for example, the MFTs, they wear face paint, nobody cares. Like it's you know, it's the same fucking assholes. You know, they don't act any differently, right? They just look differently. But Jeff Hardy made that shit make sense, motherfucks. And reason number 25, the Jeff Hardy dance. You know, the one where he just like thrusts his hips forward, does like a gun sign with his fingers and just like moves his arms in alternating situations. That shit was cool as fuck back in the day. And, you know, like I said, go see the video of them returning and the New Day doing it. It's actually pretty cool. So that being said, this has been a personal favorite video of mine. I love Jeff Hardy. I think everyone likes Jeff Hardy. I think everyone respects Jeff Hardy. So that's been the video for today, Cucks. 25 reasons why Hardy rules. Cucks this.